You're not here for a sales training. Somewhat like that. But I think that you have an extraordinary ability here. And so I just first, before we even get started, I would absolutely love, love, love to pray for you, Jacob. You are young. You are on fire. And if you can go ahead and pin him as well, Victor, you are young, you are on fire, and you found something that you are extremely good at. Okay. You did not get good by accident, but I simply cannot believe that this is something that you woke up one day and said, I'm going to give it a try. And then you got good. It took mental fortitude. It took spiritual stamina, but most importantly, it took grit and hard work and making a decision. And that's something that I will always praise before we get on some sales training, Jacob, that you are fueled by something else. And so what's up, guys? I'm Cassie, the CEO of Scale, the Prince Donnell marketing company. And so what we're going to do first is let's go ahead and pray over Jacob. How old are you, Jacob?
21.
21 years old. First off, give a round of applause for Jacob being 21 years old. And I looked at your tracker, Jacob. You actually submitted in the last 45 days almost 100 grand worth of business. So congratulations. But let's go ahead and pray. If you can stretch your hand out, whatever you got to do. But Lord, we humbly come before you and ask that you be here with us today in order to speak life onto Jacob. He is 21 years old, God, and you're doing something extraordinary in his life and all the people that are connected to it. We know that success does not come without your wisdom, Lord. And we can see at 21 years old, being able to execute, being able to desire, even this was his idea, for him to want to multiply anything that he touches, God. I'm asking that over these next few years, as he continues to mold into a man, into an entrepreneur, that you continue to give him unprecedented wisdom, when to say no, when to double down, but just be with him, be with his leadership, Lord, be with the people in his life who are his support system, so that when he is low, Lord, we know that in this specific marketplace ministry, you've called us to sales, which means the reason why we are getting paid more than the average individuals, because we are willing to go through the fire, we're willing to push past certain mental fortitude that is necessary to take no's, to take rejection. And obviously, the young man that we have in front of us today has created a framework in which it was possible to be able to push past the things that would suppress his ability to perform. And so, God, we just ask that you bless Jacob. Anything that is in his heart that is not of you, that would stop him pushing past into the next season of his life, reveal it to him, Lord. We're not asking you to take it away, but he is a young man on fire with your spirit who is willing to fight. And so I'm asking, God, that you just give him unprecedented wisdom, that you surround him around a support system and a team that continues to love him through growth. We love you, God, and we're so grateful. May you best bless him with prosperity, and may money flow in his direction. May an avalanche of abundance meet him where he's at. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Great job. Everybody give Jacob a round of applause. And again, we're super proud, but something that I've come to, I like to say, Jacob, you absolutely know that here at Scale, even when you got on your first sales call here, we led with data and metrics and analytics. And that's something that I don't want anyone listening to assume you're here by accident, or you're even here by the absolute perfect lead. It's actually, we even have great marketing, but it takes a person who is willing to fight and win and use the tools given to him. You just have a better tool in your hand, but don't get it twisted. Everybody, Nate, Brittany, Jermaine, Karen, it required for Jacob to use that tool efficiently, okay? And so the first thing that I want to do, because we're definitely going to lead with data and analytics, I first need to go over Jacob's stats, so you guys understand who he is and what he's actually accomplished, and then we can talk about how we got there. Is that fair, guys? Let's first talk about what he's done and what he's accomplished, and then we're going to go backwards, because if we don't know where we're headed, we won't know how to get there. So let's look at Jacob's metrics real quick, because Jacob, dude, I love being around great people. You want to know why? Because they teach you something new every single day. And it's clients like Jacob that I thrive and Don has created this business for, okay? So first, at Scale, we absolutely like to track a few things. We like to track productivity, right? because leads without the number attached to it, I mean, we're not doing this for fun. We call this marketplace ministry, and we're doing something extraordinary for our clients. We're putting, we are absolutely putting insurance out on the streets. I don't even want to know, Jacob, how much insurance this is out on the streets. I'm not even know if you have like a number, but I want you guys to see something. All right. In February, he started with us at week 3 in February. Okay. He finished off with 4 closed deals. He's getting into momentum. He's figuring out the system, learning the script, all that kind of stuff. He's just learning to navigate. He made $5,200. Okay. Then goes into March, and you can clearly see this happens with every single one of our clients. They start getting into momentum, ramping up, and they find their niche. They find their footing, okay? And then in week, first week, he did $15,000 in business submitted. $40,000 submitted in week 2. Week 3, he submitted $17,000. And yeah, y'all better be giving him a round of applause because this is beautiful. And then in week 4, he submitted another 20. But I'm not impressed by that. Okay, I don't want you to be impressed by that, okay? Depending on what is it that you're looking at and how that was actually curated is very interesting, but he's at March at $94,000 submitted. But this is what Scale likes to track. Woo! Wow. And he still has one more day. What I've realized, Don and I, when we were building Scale, we realized that it's not about how many leads you have. It's about what happens when you get on the phone. If the marketing is decent, guys, and I'll show you in a second, you can understand picking up the conversation with the client that's already educated about what you're calling about is a qualified lead to us at Scale. Remember me telling you that, Jacob? I said, listen, all these lead vendors, these lead companies are, oh my gosh, just talk people, dial. No. Around here, Jacob, we don't beg, okay? We're salesmen, which means we sell people who actually want what we have, right? We don't beg around here. And you cannot do these numbers begging people to buy your product. And so let's just look at this because Jacob has some of the most profound metrics I've ever seen. 99 leads, I'm not even sure if this is correct, but 99 leads came in. He has a 53% pitch rate. Oh my gosh, literally like the hair is standing up on my arm. A 53% pitch rate. I will say across the board, Jacob, and just for you to have some insight on what you're doing and how it's working compared to other people, is my clients at FFL, PHP, WFG, all of them are sitting around a 25 to 30% pitch rate. Which means, what is a pitch? A pitch is where we can actually get on the phone with the client, okay? And we actually can communicate what our product is. We don't get an application in or anything like that. Jacob, you are running 20% faster than any single one of my clients with a 53% pitch rate, okay? Whenever I see a low pitch rate, Jacob, usually it's my clients with a thick accent, right? Because, you know, Americans have biases, right? Sorry, our professionals here, and he's like, move. I understand you're in a training, but let me mop the floor. But what's interesting here is usually I see a low pitch rate. And remember, guys, we're data and analytics with clients who have a thick accent, and Americans have biases. So they're like, you say, hey, how have you been? And they hear a thick accent. They maybe think that it's overseas or something like that, okay? Or here you're doing something operationally wrong. Maybe it's the amount of times that you're dialing or how you're reaching out to the client. Something operationally is wrong. So Jacob, I need you to answer this question really quick. What the heck are you doing to get an extraordinary pitch rate? Because here at Scale, the reason why we're called Scale is because we know if we open the top funnel, most agents aren't bad salesmen, right, Jacob? So if we open the top funnel of individuals that you can actually communicate with specifically, because we do not qualify the client, Jacob, who qualifies the client?
I do.
Oh, ready? It gets even worse. The insurance carriers. We can't sell our product to clients who actually don't get approved. So Jacob already mastered the beginning of how do I get more people on the phone? I don't have to get the most people on the phone, but as long as I get more people on the phone and identify if they're my client or not through a pitch, I can move forward. Okay. So, Jacob, give me 2 things that you're probably doing different than a lot of other agents to get more people on the phone.
Yeah. So, and thank you so much. That was amazing. So one thing I'll say is like, I was listening to Alex Hormozy, and he says this: as soon as as after 60 seconds, the chances of
Mm.
you closing a lead after that initial 60 seconds drops by like 300+%. Like the percentages of you
Wow.
closing that client drops significantly, right? So no matter where you are, like for example, I just went to go to Walmart to grab some stuff because we're doing like an incentive for our guys. Um, as soon as a lead came in while I was driving, I call it, right? He didn't answer, but like regardless, no
Wow.
matter where you are, as soon
Wait,
as a
say
lead
that
comes in,
again.
you
Say
call
that
it right
again,
away.
Jacob. I need them to know the second. Say that one more time, Jacob, so that it's
Yeah,
very clear. Do you
yeah.
understand his metric, guys, Jacob? When are you calling your client?
Soon as it comes in, as soon as I get that notification, I go to text message, call it up, even if I'm not even in front of my laptop. But I try
Whew.
and make sure that I'm always in the office so I can, give give them the best time of day, so I can, make sure
Wow.
I'm called to closing these people. Because that initial first 60 seconds of that lead coming in is so key, and that's why my pickup rates have been super good because they just filled it out like seconds ago. You know what I mean? So it's just like think about it logically and like it makes sense. Like they just filled it out, they're still on their phone, call them up right away. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, right. So, but yeah, that's really that simple. You just have to really implement that.
And what I love about that, Jacob, I need us to be mindful that our clients already framed and shaped beforehand, right? So when we call Geico, are they telling us to set up a meeting, to set up a meeting, to set up a meeting to get car insurance? No. If you call State Farm to get homeowners insurance, are they setting up a call to set up a call to set up a call? No. The moment that you call, what's happening on that other end? They are answering that line and they are servicing you. So great work, Jacob. But there's also one other thing that I heard by passing that I thought was super cool, but actually speaks a lot to your confidence. You said you do something a little different with your iPhone. Could you tell everybody what is it that you do to have such an extraordinary connection rate if these people maybe don't answer on the first dial or maybe take a couple days? Come on, Jacob, speak life into them.
Yeah. You guys don't be afraid to FaceTime. FaceTime, download Google Meet if you have to. Because you can FaceTime people even if they have an Android. So download Google Meet. I've closed so many people by just FaceTime with people. Like this lady I FaceTime yesterday. She like, she was at work, whatever. But and I don't mean to like talk about myself. Like she's like, oh my gosh, you're so handsome. Oh my gosh. Right. But like she never would have known that, if I didn't, put a face to a name, right? So in FaceTime, and like think about it, like if you got FaceTimed 3, 4 times in a row, you'd be like, who is this? Like I have to know this person, right? So FaceTiming is so important, and as well as then they know like you're not like just some random hobo out there on the side of the highway out there in Indonesia, right? So you have to like let them know that. For example, a couple days ago, this lady I closed, she was like, "Oh, I feel really uncomfortable for some reason," and then I was like, "Click that green button for me." You see that? She clicked the green
Wow.
button, and I was like, "Oh, hey!" And she was like, "Oh my gosh!" And so much relief and all this like stress of like all this uncertainty was just released like off her shoulders, and it helps out so much. It helps out so much once you put a face to a name. They know you're a real person, right? Because they get phone calls, they get 50 phone calls a day from random people, right? So you have to, separate yourself from those people. And the way I do that is by FaceTiming agents or FaceTiming clients. Sorry. So
Ah,
yeah.
beautiful. And one thing I do have to give a shout out to, if you guys are looking at Aiden Magnuson's screen, the beautiful support system that Jacob has, who's literally, they know this, they hear him. They actually have a front row seat to someone in their office doing something extraordinary, but they're showing up today. They're showing that they've got his back, that they're willing to congratulate him and get him excited and they're proud of him. And so, yes, everybody give him a round of applause for the team that supports him, because who you're around while you're doing something extraordinary. I like to say, Jacob, there's no reason to be jealous of your neighbor receiving a blessing, because guess what? That means your house is next. If God is
Amen.
in the neighborhood, Your house is next. And I commend every single person that's on this call right now. So congratulations. Now, which then gets me to the second metric that is extraordinary. And this is what's interesting, Jacob. I will say overall, you actually have a lower application rate than most of my clients by around 8%. But guess what? It didn't matter. You still made more than them. I personally, with I say all my clients, I don't like seeing an application rate lower than 70%. So you're hitting right there. But of course, when you're talking about volume, you can see it didn't matter you not hitting that metric because you just have an abundance of people to talk to, right? 70% of 10 people is way different than 70% of 33 people. So great work there. So really quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show, I actually did my Rolodex of research here at Scale, and I actually went to see what video was being used or Facebook was pushing out more to your clients. I'm going to play the video, and I want you, Jacob, to tell me how much that impacted this ability to start a pitch immediately because the client knew what they were actually calling about for you to easily get into an application rather than having to do a massive amount of front-loading education on the front end, okay? I actually went in your data and analytics in your Facebook ad account because what we do here is we actually go ahead, we created Jacob's Facebook ad account. So his leads, no one touches them but him. No one's in control of them but him. We run everything for him. We dump all of our best performing advertisements in them. And what happens is, Jacob, Facebook will actually choose based on people filling out the information what to push more money behind when it comes to your budget. So we did a little research, and this video was indeed the top #1 video that pushed a lot of the business to you, okay? So I want to ask you about this, but really quick, let me show for anybody who doesn't have the context.
Here's a hidden strategy to use life insurance as a way to set aside money for retirement and leave generational wealth to your children upon passing. Let's use the hypothetical scenario of Jay. Now, his first goal was to set aside money for retirement. A very responsible man. Now, he also has 3 children, little JJ Jr., Joy, and Jasper. Beautiful kids. And he wanted to pass down generational wealth to his children upon his death. Now, he had a term life insurance policy. It's cheap for a lot of death benefit, but as we know, it expires. Now, he also had a whole life insurance policy, but his problem was it didn't build the cash value that he could set aside for retirement, and that was important to him. So the licensed insurance advisor recommended an IUL to achieve both goals of the death benefit plus setting aside money for retirement. Now, let's assume that Jay is contributing $300 per month into this IUL. The way it works is that a certain percentage of that $300 is paying towards his death benefit, and then a certain percentage is going into his cash value account, which is like a forced savings that earns potential interest that he's setting aside for retirement. Now, Jay turned 65. He's ready to retire. My man back hurt. He like, oh, I gotta slow down. So at that point, he has the ability to begin pulling from his cash value to supplement his income during retirement. And he has the death benefit, so if he passes away too soon, little JJ Jr., Joy, and Jasper are taken care of. If this is something that you're interested in, hit learn more, and one of the licensed life insurance advisors will be able to take care of you in setting a strategy up just like this.
Beautiful. So, Jacob, what's interesting about your metrics is that is absolutely not possible without them clearly knowing what you're calling about. And then your reference of how you're calling them immediately, just like the video promised, you are actually acting out on that promise immediately. Tell me, Jacob, because I've also seen you've had a few big boys, right? We like to call them whales, people who are actually using this for retirement, and you went the NLG route. It seems like you also have an extraordinary grasp on when to go more a traditional route if the client is putting a little bit more money into their IUL rather than the instant approval. So I think my first question is, when you're getting on the line with the potential clients, what's one thing you're hearing constantly over and over again that's consistent for you to take the call in the direction that you actually desire?
I would say it's more or less on, they really just want to set up for their future and their retirement. That's what I feel like a lot of these families really want to do. So I'm just letting them just tell me, what they want,
Beautiful.
letting them speak on it, because the emotional value is already there. And what I love about the video is, and this is just sales 101, is like story sell. So you guys are literally telling a story of, this person, doing this and this and this, and how, and comparing it to term and whole life, which is what a lot of people have. A lot of people always have Primerica or just a traditional whole life that their mom got set up for them a long time ago, right? And then how he got, suggested an IUL, which is going to kind of knock out those two birds with the one stone, right?
Whew.
And then it kind of just basically it basically does the job for you, and basically letting them know how much more impactful this IUL will do for them. And then, just telling them how this is going to set up for their retirement. That's what a lot of these families usually want. That's what I've noticed. And it's super easy to roll into it.
Beautiful. And so it's a continuation of the conversation. I remember when I spoke to you, Jacob, I think I personally onboarded you myself, and I said, have you even ever asked the other lead vendors like what the client was seeing beforehand? You're like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
I just kind of was going with the flow, but I'm glad that level of transparency, Jacob, has truly changed the outcome of how you even begin your conversation, because you know exactly what's happening on that line. My other question is, what I'm realizing, Jacob, is we are in a season of a technology revolution when it comes to insurance carriers, right? It's crazy because I see one of our other clients on here, Fernando, Matthew. It's one of the conversations that we've been having, right? With this revolution of technology when it comes to the carriers. Tell me, Jacob, of the balance that you have, because at the end of the day, you're a business, right? And you're spending money every single day. Just for context, guys, he received 99 leads. And hold on, because we love proof in the pudding here. If we look at Jacob's ad spend, in the month of March, he spent $3,274 with ad spend, and he received about 143 leads over the course of 30 days, something like that. But my question to you, Jacob, cash flow is king. You know that, right? So you need cash flow. How do you manage when to go through an instant approval carrier and when to actually go your traditional LNG, where maybe there's a little bit longer of a sales cycle? You talk just a little about that, because what I've realized, any of our clients who come on, the reason why I do a check-in that first 2 weeks is because I'm realizing they're like, hold on a second. Crap, I went my traditional carriers and still haven't been paid. But then you have people like Jacob and Aiden and who are doing more traditional route, and they're like, oh no, well, half of my policies already been paid out because I went more of a instant approval route that gave me the ability to get cash high. So tell me a little bit about how you decipher which route to go with the client on the line.
Great question. So my rule of thumb is, like, if they can't afford 10x their age on the monthly contribution, then I'm going simplified issued instant approval, right? So
Give an example, Jacob. Yeah.
So if they're 50 years old and they can't afford 500 plus a month on a monthly contribution, I'm going instant approval right away. I'm going Americo, Mutual Valmont, Ethos, like Ameritas. That's like the automatic where I'm going. And then if they're doing more than that, then I'm going fully underwritten. So NLG, FNG.
Wow.
That's my rule of thumb.
Beautiful. And how do you keep your head on from blowing up without going crazy when it comes to, tell me about your mechanisms or your process and procedure when dealing with more of the traditional carriers? What do you do differently from a customer support standpoint for your clients?
Customer standpoint for my client? What do you mean by that?
Like, for example, I think people or agents sometimes underestimate you staying on top of people like NLG, staying on FNG. How does Jacob ensure he's getting paid with these clients who are going like manual underwriting?
Just ask the question one more time so I can make sure I give you the best answer.
No, totally fine. And I love you.
Yeah.
So, for example, I believe that a lot of agents underestimate. They think that you just put in a policy and you're just going to get paid. Do you continue to call the carriers every single day? Or how are you keeping up with your clients, saying, hey, this is what the carrier needs? Tell me a little bit about your process and procedure to ensure that policy is going through instead of being left at the wayside.
Okay, and you're asking like on the underwritten side?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I let them know that. Like I pre-frame them,
Mm,
letting them know like, hey, this could take a week, this could be in a couple days, or it could be a full month, right? So I
beautiful.
let them know that like I will be reaching out to them periodically, let them know if the underwriters need any more additional information, make sure they have my contact saved. And I also reach out to them like periodically throughout that time frame while it's still in underwriting. Like I'll reach out to them a couple days after and just like basically check on being like, oh, just making sure you have my contact saved, make sure
Beautiful.
and I rebuild value on the IUL a little
Mm,
bit. Just like, do you have any questions on it? Usually, sometimes they do. Sometimes I send them over illustration if they're a little OD about like that
okay.
sort of stuff. And then they come back to me with questions, but I'm just reaching out to them throughout that time, just checking up on them so they don't
So
forget,
good.
who I am, what I got set up for them. And one thing that I've implemented in my systems that I'm getting a personal assistant for our team, which will systemize everything, is like sending out cards to clients and then a gift card. All right, what's your favorite restaurant? Boom. And I'm like, I'm gonna send you a mystery dollar amount on that gift card, and they freak out every time. And it just helps with the solidification portion. So, they know like, I got their back for life. Like this isn't just one of those things where I get you something, you never hear from me again type of thing. Right. So they really like ingrain in their mind that like, he really is genuinely there for me, right? So that's one, and I got that from Alex Ramosi. He talks about that, like you gotta, gift something to the client, and that will just, it's almost like a form of an exchange. You like, I got money, now I'm gonna send you something in return, even if it's, just like a $30, gift card, whatever the case may be, right? But that helps out so much, and they love it because they know that you went out of your way to do something little like that to these clients. It means the world to them. So that's like one really good way I can just tie them down and let them know like I really got their back for life.
Ah, I love that. That's why I asked the question, Jacob, because that's the response I wanted. A lot of the time, when we just talk about, and it's crazy because John and I have been in businesses beforehand. And so I like to say we're entrepreneurs who happen to be in the insurance space. So we look at it from a whole different perspective. And it's little things like that, Jacob, because Alex isn't in insurance, but he understands the laws of reciprocity and knowing that our product is almost like a subscription product, right? Where the client has to stay on or pay that first year in advance to ensure that we keep a clean book of business and don't get chargebacks. And so at times I think agents underestimate the law of checking in even when you don't have the answer yet, right? That's what Jacob just said, guys. Etrick, Jermaine, Fernando, he's not waiting till the application gets approved, and that's the first time that they hear when he's asking for money now, right? The first time they hear is with him just being kind, him being respectful, showing the client that he actually cares, because once the relationship is built, money will always flow. And so great job, Jacob. I love that there. I think that was extremely valuable. Now let's talk about the last metric that is extremely important when we talk about Jacob's close rate. Right now, he is sitting at a 57% close rate with only 19 deals closed and still $94,000 in business submitted with an average policy amount of 6. Of course, I think he had 2 or 3 big boys here, which means that got his average AP per deal up a little bit more. But again, that is the law of averages. I don't care how you got it, you still got it. You know what I mean? Whether it's 2 or 3 big boys that you get, okay, cool. That now stretches out the average AP per month. So let's talk about right there, that close rate. Let's talk about that close rate. Congratulations again. I don't like to see this below 70%, but of course, with the law of numbers and averages, because he opened his front end pipeline and leads aren't an issue, and he's getting those every single day with no middleman or no one controlling his flow, because that opened up. It doesn't matter. Him closing 19 still got him to 94. So tell me, Jacob, for all of the agents, what are your top 3 objections that you're always going to get that you can almost, if because you've talked to so many people, tell the audience right now, what are the 3 top objections? If they had to say 1, 2, or 3, these are the objections that you want to master. Go ahead and give them to me so that they can practice those on their own time.
Probably I need to think about it. I need to talk to my wife, and I would say outside of that, I would say probably just give me social or banking objection. Usually it's banking. That's like the top 3 that I get.
Beautiful. So everybody write that down. The first one is I have to think about it. All right, Jacob. So come on, role play with me. I'm going to be your
Yeah.
client. All right. I'll
Yeah.
give you some context of who I am. I am a traveling nurse making $150,000 a year. I wanted to submit an IUL for, let's say, $300 a month. I'm in the midst of traveling and I'm pregnant and I have a baby on the way. And so we're at the end of the application and we are going to talk about, I gotta think about it. All right. So go ahead and start the closeout so I can give you that objection.
Okay. All right. And then what bank did you want attached to your policy here?
I bank with Navy Federal, but
Navy Federal.
hold on. Yeah. Hold on a second. Like I have to like pay for this right now.
It's for your life insurance.
Well, traveling a little bit. I'm a nurse. I'm just gonna get some time to like think about this and kind of like digest this.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. You 100% can. Obviously, like I said early on, my job is to see if we could even get you approved because, right now it's just an idea. And the last thing I want to do here, is overpromise on something and underdeliver, right? So my job is to get you approved first. And then, once we, know you did get approved, then that will give you something to even think about. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then, so you said you want to use that Navy Federal?
Yeah. When would the payment come out though? Can I use maybe like a debit or a credit card?
Oh, no, they you'd have to attach like your physical credit union to the policy with your routing account number. Just because, when you use credit cards or debit cards, sometimes, because you'd have to manually pay that. And sometimes, they wouldn't even, because you have to validate your identity to make sure, you're not some crazy neighbor, trying to write up a policy on the real, on the real Cassie. So, we do have to
Okay.
validate that as well. Okay.
Oh yeah. I just didn't know.
Oh, no, yeah, you're all good. Because we can set up that draft date, a week or two if you do even get approved. And then that'll give you more than enough time, for you to think about it or talk to anyone about this. Because I'm sure you probably gotta, verify this with your husband there. And then once you do, once he gives you that green light, then we can go through with that draft date that we selected. Then if for some reason, he doesn't want, he gives you the thumbs down, then no worries. We just withdraw it. Nothing ever gets taken out. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Beautiful.
And let me see. And then I just roll
Perfect.
right in.
Good. Love it. I love how he never got aggressive or pushy. He simply just was the voice of reason, kind of explaining what the process was. I think something, Jacob, that you did extraordinarily well is you have embodied understanding that guys, our clients don't know what the heck the process is. So they're just asking a question. I didn't say I didn't want to do it. I didn't say I wasn't interested. Or I didn't understand the value. And at times what ends up happening is an agent who is a little underseasoned immediately emotionally gets attached to the sale and they feel like they have to fight for the sale instead of just simply answering the client's questions. And Jacob did an amazing job there. But I do want to talk about one last one, Jacob. How do you get through the objection? Let's role play only for that. I have to talk to my wife about this. I love that one. Could you can we run through that one more time and just how do you get through that? I have to talk to my wife about this.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, but yeah, we can do it.
All right.
Yeah. All right. And then this on the banking part, like the last part of the application. Okay. All right. And then you said you wanted to attach that credit union to your policy, right?
Yeah, it'll come out of me and my wife's bank account, but let me just kind of take this to her, go over the information, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So thank you so much. I definitely want to talk to her before I just rip money out of their account,
Yeah. No. Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it. What we'll do is we'll actually just set out the draft date like a week or two out. And then in the meantime, we'll see if we could get you approved. And then so that there is something to even talk about with your wife there. And then because the last thing I want, is you go run off to your wife there, and then, you're like, she gives you a thumbs up and you come back and then, you get denied, right? Then I would have overpromised and underdelivered, and I would feel guilty, right? And I'm sure your wife wouldn't be happy at that, right?
Probably not.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just set out that draft date a week or two, and then that'll give you more than enough time to talk to her
Beautiful.
about this. Okay.
There's one thing that Jacob does as well that is so stinking beautiful. He does not respond to the client and be the voice of reason and give them instruction without having a call to action. So you realize every single time that he explains exactly what's about to happen after answering the client's concerns, he gives them a call to action. He leads it back in the direction that it needs to go to, one, make sure that this family is protected and covered and that this client actually has an opportunity. This is common sense, guys. So the moment, I like to say that objection handling is making sure we keep the guardrails while we're bowling. And the moment that the client runs to the guardrails, it comes back so it can go down to where we ultimately want. And that's one, at the end of the day, Jacob, you are extremely valuable. Your clients are blessed to have you, right? That you actually care, that you desire for them to be covered. But also number two, guys, like this is marketplace ministry. Our product does not exist unless a family is covered. My framework and my thought process is I've had a family member die on her way home. And so to me, Jacob, knowing that, like, I think it's like 30-40% of car accidents, like deadly car accidents, actually happen with like in a 10-mile radius of your home. That's bonkers to me. No, we don't have time. And so I could understand where in other jobs or you're selling something else, a B2B product, where pushing could be inappropriate. But for us, do y'all understand that Jacob has the most valuable job in a family standpoint that could absolutely change the trajectory of somebody's life? Do you understand that? That he could easily say, you know what? Yeah, go ahead and talk to your wife about it. That wife calls him back, and we actually had a client at Jack Life Insurance actually happen. She's in Switzerland, gives a call and says, hey, my man just died. What happened with the insurance policy? And we had to tell them a really bad news. This is actually Victor's client. And guess what? He had to think about it too at the end and never got the policy. But they had talked about it, but it was never put in place. So I need y'all to remember that despite Jacob having really good numbers, I'll tell you where the numbers come from. It's duty. I'm going to say that one more time. He has the tools now, finally, with a marketing company that can deliver on access to people to talk to, but he feels a duty, a responsibility, and the Lord will provide for him as he continues to execute on that vision. He gets on the line and believes it's his duty. So my question is, if you haven't closed or you're fumbling at the close or the checkout, are you truly executing on your duty, the responsibility that you have for that family member? Because no one wakes up and says, I want to pay Jacob $500 today. No one wakes up like that. I don't care how good the lead is. Literally, McDonald's, I don't know if you guys know this. McDonald's, did you know this, Jacob? Literally took, and if you guys are literally going to think so differently if you go to McDonald's, they literally took off the dollar signs on their menus, because what they've realized is the part of the brain when we read the dollar sign actually ignites fear and anxiety. People don't want to spend money, but Jacob is absolutely, if you see, he didn't get heightened with the client. He slowed them down, reminding them this is a process. This is you're allowed to ask questions. He doesn't immediately get defensive or nervous or show the client anxiety that they're asking a wrong question. He is answering and then reminding them of the path forward they have to move for this not to be something that they think about. And so, Jacob, how long have you been doing this as we close this out?
I've been doing this for 8 months, full-time 6 months. Going on 7 full months now.
Congratulations, Jacob. And the last question that I'll ask you, and I'll let you go because you obviously got money to make. Well, it's a two-part question. One thing that you learned from scale, just one thing you learned from our team, our organization, Don, myself, one of our team members, anything that you use today that you learned here that was extremely valuable with your tenure with us. I think you're kind of month 2 with us now.
Yeah. It's a big question. I'd say the biggest thing really is that, in terms of, being able to close the client, I would say it makes the process so much easier because the emotion, the value is already built before the initial phone calls being made. So that helps out me, and as well as helps out, duplicating that process. That's why I have my guys running this, and that's why they've seen numbers that they've never seen before. So it helps out in that aspect. But, I would say coolest thing is, you guys have, the Lord centered around all this, which is just, amazing because it's changed my life. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing I'd say is
Amen.
that.
And that's
Yeah.
awesome, Jacob. And then for
Mhm.
anyone to know what your goals are, now that you've started making more money than you've ever made for, you've been able to multiply from a leadership position, Jacob, what is one of your goals for 2025? Come on. You have literally people on this call who are willing to believe with you. So I need you to
Yeah.
claim it. I need you to say it. 2025, what the heck do you want to say you've accomplished?
To me, what means the most to me, I would say my goal is to make an impact in 300 lives. I would say 300 lives, like people that come to me, whether they're on my team. That's like my goal. And then the the money that comes with it, that'll just come in abundance in regards to that. But me, I just want to make an impact in at least 300 lives this year for people
Wow.
that come onto my team. That's my biggest goal.
Wow. And guess what? It's
Yeah,
already done. It's already done, Jacob. And
already
I
been
see
done.
you
Yeah.
guys marketing on social and stuff like that. I want to let you guys know that I'm so proud of y'all. It's an honor to have y'all as a client. Don and I have, of course, have had private conversations, seeing what young men like you guys are doing, and it's beautiful that people are utilizing the word of God to bring people closer together. If you guys don't know, they have Bible studies. They talk about the Lord. It is the forefront of their messaging and being a part of marketplace ministry. So Jacob, it is already done. What you will accomplish, it won't be 300. It'll absolutely be more. I can promise you that. Stay focused, stay diligent, and remember. That you're worthy of every single goal that you set in front of you. So congratulations, Jacob, and anything that at
Thank
scale
you.
that we can be a part of that, making that happen, we are absolutely move in your direction. You have people who believe in you, who are proud to see you win, and you have an amazing team there. So congratulations, Jacob, and I hope you have an absolute amazing day. And if there's one
Thank you.
piece of little advice you could leave everyone with going into their workday, going to Dials, what would it be?
I would say this one. I would say have this is what I have all my new agents write down on their sheet of paper.
All right,
It's
get out
have
that piece of paper, guys.
I would, in my first 90 days, I would write down on my piece of paper first thing as soon as I sit down, open up my notebook, I would track day by day, and I'd write down have absolute belief and conviction. Have absolute belief and conviction. I'd write that down on my sheet of paper. Like I would rip the piece of paper because I'm like, have absolute belief and like I would feel it. Like you have to have the emotion behind it whenever you're writing it. I have it written down on a lot of my guys' whiteboard. They write it down. It's so true. You got to believe in what you do. Have conviction because they will feel it. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but when she speaks, it's not what she says, it's how she says it, and it's amazing. It goes a long way, and you have to really convey that over the phones, and then get on FaceTime, and have absolute belief and conviction. That's all I got.
Yeah, Jacob, you don't write $94,000 in business without a little conviction. So everybody give him a round of applause. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me.
All right. See y'all. Have an absolute amazing day. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, I have no words. We'll be kicking up a dial session real soon. Stay tuned in the chat. I'll be dropping that link. Fellas, get after it, and I'll be dialing live with some of y'all later. Hey, Aiden, great job supporting your brother, man. You're up next. Peace out, y'all.